So the first thing I want to start off with is there is the video. We have the video on our Twitter feed. We have our video, that video on the Facebook page. We are not going to air that video tonight. It is extreme. It is a horrible video to watch. If you're for some reason going, wait a minute, what are you talking about in Tacoma? You can go to our Twitter. You can go to our Facebook page, and you can go ahead and look at that there. So what happened in Tacoma in like 30 seconds or less? There was what is called a sideshow. So you could think of it as, it's not street racing, but you could think of it as an exhibition of burnouts and doing donuts. And in car culture, particularly on the West Coast, this is something that is pretty common all up and down the West Coast. There was a street exhibition that was going on at 9th and Pacific in downtown Tacoma. Multiple calls came in for the police. Police started to arrive, potentially to make arrests or certainly to break up what was going on. A crowd of people moved around one of the police cruisers, and then disaster ensued. The officer revved their engine, drove at a significant high rate of speed through this group of pedestrians, two to the hospital, one with minor injuries. We'll get into that in a moment, and another with more serious injuries. Both are out of the hospital. The officer involved is suspended, and there's been a lot of fallout, Jennifer, in the last 72, it's not even 72 hours. It's 48 hours almost to the minute. It feels like a lot longer.
Yeah, it really does. And it's, gone national too, which I find particularly interesting. But this is somebody who's a 30-year veteran police officer. This isn't, a younger, inexperienced police officer. So I think there's a lot of really interesting and important questions that need to be asked about what happened and why he felt it necessary to take that action. Yeah,
the 58-year-old, he's been identified. His name is Khahn Phan. I hope I'm getting his first name right, and I appreciate patient or not. It's Khanh. So I don't know if that's Ka or Khan. Almost 30 years on the force, and Jennifer up for retirement in just a few months.
Yeah, that's what I was reading the other day, and I don't know. I mean, some serious questions need to be answered about what happened. And there's been so much speculation, especially on social media, that it's really something that they need to come forward with what information that they have to kind of quiet some of that misinformation.
Yeah, there is. And it's funny, that's a good tee up. We talked today with Quinn Bell. Quinn Bell was an eyewitness to this incident that happened on Saturday with the Tacoma Police Department. And Jennifer, I'm going to go ahead and tee up that interview with Quinn. We're with Quinn Bell. Quinn was an eyewitness to the incident with the Tacoma Police Department where a group of pedestrians were struck at 9th and Pacific. Quinn, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Quinn, in your own words, can you tell us what you saw and observed on Saturday night?
I mean, so I was up on the second floor in a parking garage looking from kind of a bird's eye view away from everything. But I could see everything that's going on. And the cop pulled up, which is very common. I mean, we go from spot to spot all night. And every spot that gets blown up is blown up by a police officer pulling up, just like that one did. They pull up, people get in front of the cop, block him so that their friends or colleagues, whatever you want to call them, can get away without getting arrested. And we go to the next spot. This happens. I mean, it's been happening for decades. And so if you see my video, I'm recording and I go, yeah, blockers. Because, I mean, I've seen it happen 1,000 times, And this time I watched this police officer just run over a group of people. I mean, I don't know how else to explain it. It was insane. And when usually they only block until the racers are gone. They would have backed away within 45 more seconds. I mean, I've seen it 1,000 times, man.
There's a lot of rumors about what happened on Saturday, and you were there as an eyewitness. And so one of the first rumors I want to talk about is that the people that had gone around the car broke out the rear window. That's why he couldn't back up and that's why he drove that way. Fox News and the Tacoma police reported very early Sunday morning that the window of the cruiser wasn't broken and that this was a totally different police cruiser that showed up with the broken back window.
Absolutely. I can actually send you my video. I have a video of the back of the car as it drives away, completely undamaged. The window is fine. The car that pulled up after, I mean, about easily, no exaggeration, 40 to 50 squad cars were there within 3 minutes. I've never seen a response like that in my life. But that's when those cars started pulling up. People started throwing things at those cars. I mean, they had just witnessed their friend get ran over, not ran over by the front and back wheel of this vehicle. I've never seen anything like that in person. You know what I mean? It's like, it's shocking when you see that in person. And like I said, if I wasn't in my bird's eye view, I would have been hitting the police cars too, man. I can't believe what I had just seen. I mean, it was rage.
Another rumor that's going out there is that there was a stabbing related to this and people were blocking the police cruiser so that they couldn't get to the stabbing. I'm just telling you what the rumors are, Quinn.
Hey, I believe it. I believe that that's a rumor, but I can personally guarantee that that did not happen. I mean, these are car people, you know car people. I mean, they might be younger and not the smartest car people, but they're car people. They're not violent people.
Quinn, another rumor that's out there is that people were laying down in front of the police cruiser to block it. From your vantage point, could you tell us what you saw?
Absolutely not. I mean, there was no Tiananmen Square moment on 9th and Pacific Avenue. I mean, no, these people are car people. They're not looking for trouble. They're just waiting for their friends to get away. It was more of a 3-minute. It's exciting. You realize you have the power to block a police officer. I've never done it, but I'd imagine that must be pretty exciting, And that's all that was, just screaming out of excitement. You've seen the video, they're laying on the car, laughing, whatever. Nobody was laying down. And even if they were, still, they're just trying to block somebody from going. Why would that make it okay to run them over? If anything, that makes less sense. You know what I mean?
Quinn, I really appreciate you coming on and telling us what you saw on Saturday. And we will continue to monitor the story and see what happens and what the Tacoma Police Department decides to do with the officer involved in this incident.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for being an unbiased news reporter, man. We appreciate people like you.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for that shout out, Quinn. Much appreciated. Jennifer, it was really great at the end of that interview to get that because you were watching the stream and we took shit from both sides yesterday. Yeah. Everybody was mad at us yesterday.
Yep.
Which I always say that means we're doing our job right.
Yeah. It's been interesting, the comments and messages we've gotten over the past couple of days since this has happened. And I sent a message this morning. I was like, wow, these have gotten really intense. So it's definitely like a high friction incident and people are feeling all kinds of ways about it. But it's so useful to have an eyewitness account of what happened, especially to kind of maybe help quash some of the kind of theories people have about what happened.
Yeah, it was amazing to me. This is a terrible incident, so I'm not trying to minimize it, but it was about 11 o'clock West Coast time, and someone sent us a link going, hey, this is on Daily Mail in the UK, right? It's like, well, this now just became international news. The Tacoma Police Department created an international incident.
Yes. Yeah, it's insane how quickly it traveled. It was just all over the place. CNN, it was on like MSNBC. I was watching it on a news show the following morning. So there was so much kind of speculation about what happened and, kind of instant attachment to this as a story. And I think so much of that is largely the result of the way in which Seattle, in the Seattle area, Portland has been portrayed as this kind of like anarchist space on fire by the media for so long.
Yeah, Quinn actually was interviewed by the BBC the night of. So again, I'm not minimizing it. It's just with everything that's going on in the world. Yeah. I'm very fascinated that this story has taken on the life that it has.
No, and I think it's interesting, too, to think about the ways in which different kinds of stories have intensified now that we don't have a particular person in office and people are really looking for something that's not coming from his fingertips on Twitter that they can transform into a story. So other things that seem more interesting or anything at this point are just becoming instantly intensified.
Yeah, exactly. And this went from zero to political within 2 hours. Yes. Katie Davis Court, we have up in our story with her comment that it was deserved. Hey, yes. Katie, if you were in the Capitol or close to the Capitol grounds and your cell phone was on, the FBI knows about you, Katie. I noticed you didn't respond to my reply there, Katie, on that one. Feeling a little nervous, Katie? You should. Mm-hmm. We have some more information, Jennifer, that comes. Tavon Williams is the second individual, the more seriously injured individual. Tavon gave an interview to Como, and in that he said, I quote, "I don't think it was an accident at all." He goes on to say, "I don't think it was malicious, but the officer probably got frustrated and made himself judge and jury."
That's a really powerful statement. I mean, really. We've only seen video. We're not there. We, of course, had somebody that was their first person account. But I just don't see in any context how that is warranted in any capacity. So I just don't have, there's no way to really play devil's advocate here. I see a lot of people trying to do it on social media, but the fact of the matter remains, a police officer literally ran through a crowd of protesters and ran his vehicle over someone.
Well, and let's remember, they weren't even protesters. They're just a crowd of people that, I mean, Quinn explained what their motivations were. Tacoma at this moment is holding an emergency meeting of their police advisory board. So obviously, not only probably the incidents of Saturday night, but the incidents of Sunday night, we'll get into that later in the show, are probably hot topics in that meeting. If there's any news that comes out on that, we will try to share it tonight on Twitter and on our Facebook. If there's something really big that comes out, we'll put it up on Malcontent News. The other one is Matthew Harrington self-identified as the other on social as the other individual that was struck. And Matthew's actually basically taking the position that he deserved it. I'm paraphrasing very heavily, but he has kind of this attitude to it.
That's interesting. Any rationale behind why he believes he deserved it? I didn't see that. I
think the Mopar Blue Lives Matter motif sign that he has up where he lives might have something to play with it.
Okay, so
maybe
political ideology playing in there.
Yes. So we will continue to monitor this story. We are really committed to making sure that this is told in an accurate fashion. We did not release our story on the Malcontent News site until we could kind of get our hands around things. And I know that our fact checkers and our community manager could tell you, I spent hours today scouring, like I'm trying to get the real story because there's so many stories coming out around this. The other thing, Jennifer, I'll just close, which was kind of frustrating for me, is we had people from the political right, going, that window was broken out by them. And we're like, the Tacoma police had a press conference at 12:30 in the morning. It's on Fox freaking News that there's no damage to the cruiser, right? It's like, what do you want from us?
And what's particularly interesting is that started circulating really quickly after the story kind of gained traction. That was the kind of alter narrative that came out of that.
I get to hit the Chud button.
Chud. It's a
yes, please.
Humanoid underground dweller.
Hey, Chuds, those pictures that you've circulated around and misrepresented of the broken back window, yeah, they're from CNN. Look it up. I knew you would love that, Jennifer. Man. That was just for you. Oh, I missed. I get to do it again because it landed in a bad spot. It can't stay there. Let me try it again. I get a second try. All right, there we go. Get a do-over. I didn't call this out. We are going to do for a pause for the cause, but I did start with this. There's just so much going on tonight. Our moderators, our admins, our researchers, they all work for Hearts. There's only, we can't say nobody's paid around here anymore. It's sure not me and it's sure not Jennifer, but there is one person that we've actually got to pay for the first time. So we can't say nobody's paid anymore, but almost nobody is paid to do what they do here. We're paid in hearts. And so with that said, what you could do, if you're on Facebook, if you're on Twitter, if you're on Periscope, spam those hearts. Let people know that you appreciate the hard work that everybody does here, particularly our mods and admin team, so that Jennifer and I don't have to see the worst of the worst comments. The other thing is, if you haven't done it, like, share, follow, subscribe, share. Also, if you're on YouTube or if you're on Twitch and you're like, I can't spam hearts. You could just type something like, I love you mods, or I love Malcontent, or I love Jennifer, and big line of hearts or something like that. We love that stuff. And Jason, by the way, thank you for your thank you on our coverage on Tacoma. Jennifer, with that, we'll do a little pause for the cause, and we're going to go ahead and jump into the next story. Hi, Malcontents. I'm David, the Malcontent, and I'd like to talk to you for a moment about supporting independent media. When you support us, you help us bring the before, during, and after. You help us defend the First Amendment. You help us amplify BIPOC and LGBTQIA voices, and you help us hold leaderships at a local, state, and federal level accountable. None of this would be possible without support by viewers just like you. When you become a patron for as little as $5 a month, you help buy technology, safety equipment, and help cover travel expenses so that we can continue to bring you news that you trust. If you can't become a patron, you can do a one-time donation on Venmo, and your dollars will go to the exact same causes. With your continued support, we can continue to amplify BIPOC and LGBTQIA voices while showing the truth on what is happening in the world around us. Once again,